Hi, my name is Jochen Kressin, and I'm the co-founder of Eliatra, the OpenSearch experts. In the first part of this series, we downloaded and registered a sentence transformer model in OpenSearch. Now, we're going to set up an ingest pipeline and start ingesting and searching some actual data. Before we create the index pipeline, let's have a look at the test data that we want to ingest. I have prepared a JSON file called movies.json, which contains the data that we want to index. The test data is a collection of movies, and every entry has a title and a description. Let's head back to dashboards. I am back at the DevTools, and what we want to do now is create an ingest pipeline, which is responsible for generating the vector embeddings for each ingested document and storing them in an index. The interesting part is the processor. We're adding one processor to our ingest pipeline, which is used to create the embeddings. I need to specify the model ID of the sentence transformer I want to use. This is the ID of the MS Marco model that we registered in the first part of this series. An interesting part is the field mapping. This tells the processor to take the contents of the description field for each document, generate vector embeddings using our deployed model, and store the vectors in an additional field in my index called passage embeddings. So, let's execute this command. And the ingest pipeline is created. As a last step, I need to create my actual index, and this index is a little bit different from your usual OpenSearch index. Why? Because we need to enable vector storage and kNN search in it. kNN means k nearest neighbor, and we're using this method to find relevant documents within the vector space when we execute vector searches later on. In the settings section, I just set index.ann to true, and in the mappings of my index, you can see the passage embedding field. This is the field where we actually store the vector embeddings. As type, I specify kVector. And what's also important is to set the dimension. This means how many vectors our sentence transformer generates for each document. This is dependent on the model, of course. Our model generates 768 vectors, so I'm setting the dimension parameter to 768. And I need to define a storage engine. In our case, we just use the Lucene storage engine for storing the vector embeddings. In addition, we have the title field and our description, which are just text fields. So let's create this index. It is created, and we're ready to start indexing our data. We're back at the console, and I'm going to execute a standard OpenSearch bulk insert command to ingest. Don't be confused by the last bit of the command. I'm just using a command line tool called JQ to prettify the JSON that OpenSearch returns. As you can see, bulk inserting takes slightly longer than usual. Why? Well, for each ingested document, we need to create the vector embeddings, which, on my local machine without GPU support, takes some time. All of our documents have been ingested. Now we can have a look at the actual documents in the index. To do that, we'll use the Discover feature in OpenSearch, and I will create an index pattern for my index real quick. Now I can go to Discover and see the contents of the index. Let's have a look at one of the documents and its details. Of course, we have our description and title field. But have a look at this field here. This is the passage embedding field, and these are the vectors, the 768 vectors that have been created in our ingest pipeline using the MS Marco model during index time of our documents. Thanks so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. In the next part, we will explore how vector and hybrid searches can be used to achieve semantic search results. See you there.